think it wants you to do it that way. Yeah, it wants you to do it that way.
Okay. Hopefully we're not sideways.
Good afternoon, BISD parents, students, and anybody else who's joining us. Welcome to this week's edition of Stay at Home STEM. We hope all of you are having a good school year so far and staying healthy and safe. And we're really excited for this week's experiment. So I'm going to introduce you to our two ExxonMobil scientists, Joe and Catherine, and they're going to lead you through our experiment, which is a puking pumpkin. So I will hand it over to Joe and Catherine. All right.
All right. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Joe Hewitt. I'm a mechanical section supervisor with ExxonMobil, and
My name is Catherine Hewitt, and I'm also working with ExxonMobil. I'm the olefins coordinator. So since we are married, we're not going to wear masks today. Since we live together, we don't need to do that to be safe. So.
all right. So I'll go ahead and introduce the experiment. So it is called the Puking Pumpkin, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So what we'll be doing today, you'll require one leftover jack-o'-lantern, or as many leftover jack-o'-lanterns as you have. It will require yeast, warm water, soap, food coloring, and hydrogen peroxide. You'll also need some cups and forks and things like that you probably have at home in the kitchen.
All right, so let's get started. So first step first, we're going to take hydrogen peroxide. This is 3% hydrogen peroxide. You can get apparently 6% hydrogen peroxide at home or at like salon stores, and that'll make the experiment a little more dramatic. Since we're using 3%, we decided we didn't need to use safety glasses because there's not a big chance of it erupting. But if you do end up using something a little stronger, make sure you take the right safety precautions. Hydrogen peroxide can kind of sting your skin, so if you're doing this at home, you can ask a parent to help you pour the hydrogen peroxide. So this requires 1/4 cup of hydrogen peroxide. So I'm going to mix it in this separate cup right here.
And in the meantime, while she does that, what you'll need is a really small cup if you have a small pumpkin like ours, or else just find one that fits your pumpkin, and that'll have to go inside of the pumpkin.
Okay, next up, we're going to add a little bit of soap. Doesn't really matter how much, just kind of a splash into your cup. Like Joe said, if you have a bigger pumpkin, you can use a little more soap, but since ours is pretty small, we don't need a huge amount. And then finally, in this first cup, we're also going to put a little bit of food coloring. We chose green, so it looked a little bit more like puke, but you can pick whatever color you want, just to give yourself a little bit more fun when it does end up coming out of the pumpkin. Then you can do your part.
Yeah, so the next step is to take some warm water. I've got warm water in this cup. So for our recipe, again, we're doing 1/4 cup of hydrogen peroxide, and then I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of warm water. And let me just go ahead and measure that out. 2, 3, and a little more because I missed some on the first scoop. None of this is very precise. Like all good experiments, I encourage you guys to mix it up and try different things at home, and you can see how that affects the outcome. So the next step is we're going to add 1 teaspoon of yeast to my cup of warm water. So set that to the side. And then the next step is to mix this. So I'm just using a fork, and I'm going to go for about 30 seconds. I'm not really going to count it. It's not a very precise thing, just to make sure it's all mixed up.
So while Joe's doing that, we're taking the hydrogen peroxide, soap, and color mixture, and we're going to pour it into the cup inside the pumpkin. Get as much as you can in the cup. If some overflows from the cup, it's not a big deal. And so you can see on our pumpkin, we have 2 little eyes and a mouth, and hopefully, if everything goes correctly, you should puke out of the mouth of the pumpkin.
We tested this 1 time, so we're pretty sure it works.
Yeah.
Okay, good?
There you go.
All right, let's give it a try. So this is the big moment, and it happens pretty fast, so get ready. Did you do it?
Do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Here we go.
Here he goes. And that is our successfully puking pumpkin. So if you guys want to know a bit about the science of what's happening here, so hydrogen peroxide, if you guys don't know, is H2O2, which means it has 2 hydrogen molecules and 2 oxygen molecules. What we do by adding yeast, it's actually a catalyst. So a catalyst basically speeds up a reaction or makes a reaction happen without itself being consumed in the reaction. So when we add the catalyst to the hydrogen peroxide, it breaks the hydrogen peroxide molecule and makes it into water, which is H2O, and oxygen. The oxygen is then a gas. Like you see oxygen in the air all around us. So the oxygen basically makes the bubbles with the soap and then forms this foam that comes out of the pumpkin. And that's where you see it kind of puking. One interesting fact about hydrogen peroxide is normally we use hydrogen peroxide to clean up wounds, like if you get hurt. And when you do that, sometimes you'll see it foam up on your skin. That's because catalase, is that catalyst that you see, is actually naturally occurring in our flesh. So when you pour it on your skin and it bubbles like that, it's actually doing the exact same reaction you see here. It's making water and oxygen, but also cleaning out your skin.
So the final thing to note, we gave you guys the ingredients to use for this size pumpkin. For an extra challenge, your pumpkin may not be the same size as ours. This is probably about 6 inches in diameter. So if you want to scale everything up, you can use the formulas for volume of a sphere to go ahead and try to figure out how much of each ingredient do you need to use to fill up your pumpkin. So 4/3 pi r cubed, and you should be able to size up the experiment to fit what you've got at home and make reuse out of something that you might have otherwise thrown away now that Halloween's over.
So that's all we have for you today. I hope you guys enjoy making your own puking pumpkins at home.